supposedly, the understanding is that the calendar had an end point, that it was a 31,000 year cycle that had a beginning and an end, and 3113, and there was, of course, a tremendous amount of speculation as to what that meant. But in the people that are really close to the calendar and understand it more deeply, the real culmination is actually this July. And we're in what is known as the 7 mystic moons from December 21st, 2012 to July 26th, 2013. And in these 7 moons, which is a month, moon is 28 days, this is the, shall we say, the birth canal. And the culmination, and the culmination isn't devastation, it's graduation. We're all moving on the planetary, galactic, daily energy field, moving towards that date, the completion of what the Mayans called the end date. We've got the precession of the equinoxes, which people talk about as 26,000 year cycle. There are multiple cycles in this 26,000 year cycle, and one of them is the Mayan calendar from 3113, so 1,300,000 years AD to now has been the period of time that's been deciphered on the glyphs as coming to an end. They call that, the sixth sun, that we're entering a new age, a new era. And I think it's pretty evident that we are, and I think it's felt by everyone. And I think that we are being given time to adjust to the frequency change that's occurring in us, both biochemically and spiritually. That's what these 7 months are about, from December to July. And so they call that the synchronization beam is where we're going to get the blast of the next level, the sort of shift, if it were from 4th to 5th dimension, or 3rd to 5th, depending on how well you make the transition, is really this summer and this July. So there's a big gathering. There'll be another series of gatherings around the world, but a big one in Manchester in July. December 21st was like if you were giving birth, it would have been the first contraction, basically. And now the contractions are increasing and increasing and increasing, and then comes the actual transformation. What I learned about the Mayan calendar by tracking it on a daily basis was that it was like software, 4th dimensional software for the brain. It allowed me to get off the Gregorian calendar and track time and space from another dimension, and align myself with that other dimension. And there's sort of a beauty in the glyphs and the tone. They're energies, and when you tune into them and you live them and you feel them and you perceive your day and your reality through them, then you have sort of a 4th dimensional perception of what's happening to you in time and space, and so it clues you into another reality bit by bit. And there's a lot of synchronicity that happens. In fact, over tracking the calendar, I've been tracking the calendar since '87. I met Pat in '98, but I learned about the calendar and became friends with Dr. Arguelles, Jose Arguelles, otherwise known as Valum Bhutan, who later became Valum Bhutan, and was able to spend enough time with Valum and his wife, Lloydine, at the time, to have them as guests in my home in San Francisco, to borrow my van to travel across the country several times, and to receive his wisdom and be in his energy field, which was really just extraordinary. I've never met anybody else like him. And he certainly didn't play a spiritual guru. He just was different in a very truly galactic sense, not to mention the codes and the information that he was bringing in, and the books he wrote, and the art that he did. I mean, nobody can touch it. It's just one of a kind. Here's one individual with one-of-a-kind information that's profound. And he linked many cultures, Islamic and ancient Quiche Maya traditions with, and the Bible. He was very much into the Quran and the Bible, and then ancient indigenous culture wisdom. And if anyone takes the time to study what he's written, it would change their life, and it certainly did mine. He got the planet started. He's the one who called the Harmonic Convergence. He was a professor at UC Davis. He also basically called Earth Day. He created Earth Day. And he was a art historian, and he was creating mandalas. His first book was on mandalas. Nobody really knew what a mandala was. And he was creating these gorgeous mandalas in a big picture book. And he said, he put it out, that on August 16th and 17th of 1987 was the beginning of the shift into the final stage of the 26 years of the last glyph and tone, which is cosmic sun. The last 26-year cycle is the completion of the Mayan calendar, and August 16th and 17th in 87 was the beginning, the gate, the opening. And it just, when I heard it back then, it was just a clarion call. It was like, I knew it. I knew it was true, I knew it was right, and so did hundreds of thousands of other people. Even Ted Turner got into it. They did some publicity on it. I knew Ted's partner at the time, J.J. Ebao, and they got very excited about it, so it was sort of moving into the mainstream. And from that point on, that was it. That was my, I had been on the spiritual path before that, and I never let go of the pieces of my spiritual path that were my foundation. But this piece was what, like I say, when I say it was fourth dimensional software for the brain, it shifted me completely to tune in to a way of being that allowed me to relax into the changes that were going on in the world and in myself. And it gave me a language for it. And I became sort of born again Mayan teacher, and I decoded signatures back then everywhere I went. And back then you didn't have the computer, so I did it. There was a mathematical way of doing it, and I would, everywhere I go, I give everyone their Mayan galactic signature, and I had them all written down. I still have it. I have a booklet that's at least that thick. And, a lot of people say that in the 60s, when, the age of Aquarius and what's your sun sign was the big wahoo for giving yourself sort of a intergalactic identity, right? Something besides your name is, your born name, and you have no other identity. Well, learning your astrology was just like completely opening people's consciousness. And in the same way, the Mayan calendar was the same kind of vehicle, but it was galactic in nature. It went beyond the 12 signs of the zodiac. It went into where do you come from in the galaxy, and what is your galactic nature, and what's your name, and what's your glyph and your tone. That's how you would find out. You'd use your birth date to find out where you landed on the Zolkin, and where you landed on the Zolkin, it could have been, white magnetic dog, or blue self-existing hand, or yellow electric seed, or in my case I was yellow crystal star. And needless to say, I liked that signature. And from there I learned all about what that meant. There's quite a bit to learn when you get your glyph and your tone, and where you are in the wheel, in the Zolkin, and where you are in the castles, because there are 5 castles. And as you begin to play with the Mayan calendar and play, as Jose, Dreamspell, because that's what it was called. That's how he designed it, because he took the template that the Mayans left, but he brought in a whole different overlay. He brought in the art and science of it and the play of it and turned it into a new dream, and he called it Dreamspell. And that worked for many, many young people who were needing a new dream spell. And again, this is that fourth, fifth dimensional kind of way of thinking that allows you to take on a new role, a new way of being, and a new understanding of being on a planet in a solar system, moving through space and time. Like, are we allowed to have a new way of looking at that? And that's what it gave many of us. 26 years of following it daily and seeing the synchronicity. Synchronicity in the dream spell is profound. And the more you understand it, the more you see the synchronicity of what happened in the day as it related to what the glyph and tone were that you knew it was, and then what happened in the day. And it would just be, it was very, very remarkable. And that's what really kept me right in alignment with this particular count, because there are different counts. There's the long count, and then you could go deeper into parts of Yucatan and Aztec cultures, and there's other counts. But the Dreamspell count appealed to a lot of young Westerners who could play with it in a way that had an artfulness. And everything Jose did was very, very artful. I'd like to say a poem that he wrote. He was staying with us in San Francisco, and he wrote this poem down on a paper napkin. Moment to moment, it's all in the play. Don't keep a history, or you won't know the way.